As I'm sure many people will know, I've talked about this before, I've mentioned this before, times are not exactly easy, in the world we live in financially for a lot of people out there. So there are a lot of expenses that in the past we would have been able to carelessly flitter away, bit of money here and there, a bit of, little lavish spending here and there, that we don't have the luxury. And there are millions who don't have that luxury anymore. I've said it myself that I'm in a very, very fortunate position to still have a job, that YouTube is actually doing quite well. So I've been doing very well lately, and thank God for that. I'm all right. I'm all right. I can still do things I used to. I can still give some of the lads like the a super chat, and I'm happy about that, right? So I can look at something like a pay-per-view and think, do you know what? I'll go ahead and I'll get that, right? But I know, because I know what's going on in the world. I know that the economy is in just, I compared it to an old porn star in a video once, and that was a poor analogy, but it really is. It's like, I don't even want to know. It's just, it's bad, right? It is just that bad, right? So a lot of people have been adversely affected. They don't have 20 quid to spare. They don't have 30 quid to spare. So when these pay-per-views are all coming out, and they're all coming out within weeks of one another, right? You look at that and you think, right, had times have been normal, I probably would have bought all three of them. Maybe, potentially. But now I'm having to kind of look and think, well, will I buy that? Will I buy this? Will I buy that? We've Joshua, we've Fury, we have Dylan White, we have Usyk Chisora. That's the card we're going to talk about in this video. Because if you are someone, right, who is saving money, who wants to be able to spend, then you should not. This is not pay-per-view worthy. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Let me read you this card verbatim, and I'll tell you what we have. Top of the bill: Oleksandr Usyk versus Dereck Chisora. An intriguing fight. I've done a prediction video on it. An intriguing fight. A guy 17-0, pound for pound, top 5, against the guy with 9 losses. And while Dereck Chisora is still a name, and he is a bit of a name, no. Lee Selby versus George Cambrasso. Okay. Lee Selby, I've watched him for many, many, many years. With the greatest of respect, I've never particularly rated him. Like, he's a good long range boxer, but he doesn't, there's nothing about him that jumps out at you. He's not particularly, like, people call him slick. He's not particularly slick either. He's never been a ticket seller. He really has always been a mid kind of card fighter. That's been, Lee Selby's, that's where he's always been. So that fight's not interesting to me. I reckon George Cambrasso will probably win. Then we've Tommy McCarthy versus Bali Lagunu, I think is how you pronounce that, for the EBU cruiserweight world, or for the cruiserweight title, European cruiserweight title. I mean, again, Tommy McCarthy was a good amateur. He recently came off the back of a good win over in Italy last year. But again, this is like a Sky Fight Night. This is essentially like a Sky Fight Night card. We have 2 female cards, Havana Marshall versus Hannah Rankin. That was meant to happen on the Joshua Buatsi versus, I can't remember the guy's name now. I can't remember the Croatian guy's name now. We'll just say Alan Babic versus Niall Kennedy card. That was meant to happen on that card. It obviously got pushed back. So we have that, and that's not a particularly enthralling fight. Then we've got Amy Timlin, who is another female fighter, versus Carly Skelly. On a pay-per-view, really? These aren't even world title fights. Well, actually, I tell a lie. That Savannah Marshall one is, actually, I tell a lie. It's for the WBO world middleweight title. Okay, but I'm more intrigued with that Bean Bridges versus Rachel Ball, and even putting Katie Taylor on that card. That would have, if you want to put female fights on, they would have been more intriguing. Do you know, sort of way? And then lastly, Dave Allen versus to be announced. It was meant to be Christian Hammer, but obviously Christian Hammer issues happened with him, so we can't. He's not able to fight now. which it is what it is. If that fight had happened, I still wouldn't have bought that card, by the way. You know, I still wouldn't have done it. But at least it would be a more competitive fight. Well, you pick Christian Hammer to win, but at least it would have been, you know, we would have got a scrap out of it. Whereas this, it's like Dave Allen versus, you know, they're talking about Lenroy Thomas. Really? Really? Come on now. They've had two fights. One was a stinker. The other one never even got off because there was a cut in the first round and Lenroy Thomas was winning that first round. If you go back and watch that fight, I don't want to see a third fight. No. And then if there's no Lenroy Thomas, it'll just be a journeyman. And, you know, like watching Dave Allen fight a journeyman, I've been there, seen it, done it. As people have said in the chat on some of my live chats, this is Dave Allen 8.0, which is the same route. He fought Dorian Darch back in February, and then he's going to fight another journeyman. That is a Sky Fight Night card, if ever I saw one. You know, that is a card you would put on Sky Sports as a Fight Night standalone card. That is not a pay-per-view. That is not worth me spending 25 quid on. I am sorry, it's not worth. I'm not paying for that, right? And I will be very interested to know who actually is paying for it, right? Because there are some pay-per-views coming up that I am genuinely interested in. Dylan White versus Alexander Povetkin, and there is still time to add fights to that undercard, by the way. That's looking like a good card. That is a card that I have no problem saying, do you know what, Sky? Take my 25 quid. I want to watch that fight. I want to watch that fight in HD on my TV. I'll happily pay for that, right? This right here, it's like, you know, it's like we've had more competitive matchroom, fight camps than this. The main event is intriguing, but I think the vast majority of us know who we're picking. You know, when I look at that card and I think, right, I'm doing my post-fight reviews, I'm seriously thinking I might only cover one fight. I might only cover the main event. I might not cover Lee Selby. I might not cover Dave Allen. I might not cover any of them. I might only cover one fight on a pay-per-view. Whereas normally on a pay-per-view, you should be really wanting to cover all the fights because they're all, if not good fights, names, right? At least if they're not in necessarily competitive fights, we're getting some names, you know? Like, we're getting Conor Benn versus, what's the guy's name? Stephen Formila? Is that how you pronounce it? We're getting him. We're getting Alan Babbage, probably fighting Tom Little, but still, Alan Babbage is an up-and-comer, so we're intrigued to see how he's doing. I'm probably missing a fight because I don't have it open here, but I'm probably missing another fight. And we're getting White Povetkin. Like, that is a good little card. And that, bear in mind, we still have plenty of time to get other fights announced for that card. Plenty of time. So, you know, that card there, in an economy the way it is now, who really is going to fork into their pocket and pay for that card? That is going to be right up there with Nathan Cleverly versus Tony Bellew, the rematch. Right? And I think Kell Brook was on another. I remember Dell was saying, I can't remember the guy's name. Dell, if he's watching this video, might be able to tell me who it was. But Kell Brook fought a guy on pay-per-view before he was even world champion. And I mean, I can't even remember it, but he said that was a terrible pay-per-view as well. So this is going to be right up there, I reckon, in terms of pay-per-views that A, don't do good numbers, and B, really shouldn't be on pay-per-view. And I don't think this should be on pay-per-view at all. But I would be interested to know who is actually going to pay for this. So whoever's watching this video, if you would comment and let me know, yes or no, are you going to be considering paying for this? And out of the 3 pay-per-views we have coming up, which one are you most keen on? Which one are you most going to pay for? Because I've said it myself, I'm happy to pay for White Povetkin, happy to pay for that. With this one, although the fight's going to be cracking, I won't be paying for it, right? So I'll leave you with that. Now, I'm going to close this video off here. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe, of course, if you guys are new to the channel. If this is your first video, welcome. Hope you enjoy. And yeah, smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe, of course, if you're new. As always, peeps, I'll talk to you. Peace.